Now,
Friending me on Facebook.
Facebook status
Getting on Facebook, getting on Twitter.
a show helping to expose the power of social media.
You can go on Facebook.
Say you write on Facebook. On Facebook.
This is the Tonya Hall Show.
My Facebook account was deleted by the man.
Now, here's Tonya Hall.
Welcome to the Tonya Hall Show, where we embrace the power of social media, everything happening on the World Wide Web, and how the internet is changing our lives. A lot happened this weekend, and we're going to cover hopefully all of it. We've got the Masters happened this weekend, MTV Music Awards. There were a couple of events last week in the social media space. Our first guest is going to talk about both of those, his event and the other event taking place in California, what the big takeaways were and what we're learning from that. Although I am not, and I have taken golf lessons. My father wanted me to learn golf, and my short game is good, my long game is not, but I'm just not that into golf. But what was really exciting was all the conversation that was happening around the Masters, including Patrick Sandusky, who is the PR Chief Communication, I think is his title, Chief Communication Officer, Public Affairs Officer for the United States Olympic Committee. And he was talking about being really excited about the Masters app and how he was using it. The Masters app, if you weren't following the Masters or if you didn't use the app, apparently was kind of a big deal and was really pulling people away from the actual first screen. So we talked last week about the second screen, and my guest, I think, made a joke that I'm like 7 screens because I have my, my laptop, I have my iPad, I've got my notebook, I've got my phone, I've got my, multiple screens for my computer. So we're all distracted by all these different screens. And there's an evolution taking place right now. There's a crack in the fabric, if you will, in the ground of traditional television, and we're talking about how it's evolving. In the past, you had to actually watch the actual TV channel to enjoy maybe an event like the Masters or music awards. Now you're seeing them start to transition. They've been fighting for the space. I know Fox got really upset. We talked about Aereo last week, which is a content provider, an antenna, if you will, that allows you to get broadcast channels online on the internet, and they're not paying the retransmission fees for that. And so I think $3 billion is what the broadcasters are going to take in for retransmission fees elsewhere through 2015. Well, Aereo won on April 1st. They won in court, allowing them to offer broadcast channels online, which we've not been able to get up to this point. So lots happening in the space. And I think the Masters app definitely got a lot of people's attention, because what I heard people talking about was that they basically were more interested in the app than they were in actually watching Masters. The quiet hush of what's happening. They were able to keep up with, toggle between, specific groups, holes, who was winning. And if you didn't get a chance to pick up on that, we're going to post some links to my Facebook page. MTV Awards happened this weekend. Didn't hear as much activity on that. Mad Men also kind of, people were talking about maybe the future of Mad Men. I don't know if you watched that, but have been a big Mad Men fan. But, I don't know. Are we into it this season? It doesn't seem like. I think the excitement kind of wore off. But I do want to get to our guest, because we're going to talk about the events that took place in social media, social business. And our guest today is Jason Miller. He's the social strategy and content marketing expert at Marketo. And Marketo, you had your own event. Welcome, Jason, to the show.
Thank you for having me, Tonya. It's wonderful to be here. What a crazy, crazy busy week last week.
Yeah, you were telling me that you spent, it was like 12-hour days going back from San Diego to San Francisco for both events. There were 2 events that took place last week. What were those events?
The first one was Social Media Marketing World, which is the largest social media conference in the world. I think there was 1,100 social media marketers gathered up for 3 days of amazing keynotes. It's hosted by Social Media Examiner. And, it was super inspiring just because they had some really big heavy hitters there. Everyone who's anyone was there from the social world. Jay Baer, Mari Smith, Sally Hogshead, Brian Carter, Michael Brito. The list goes on and on. It was just an A-list of really inspiring folks from the world of social media who are doing really cool stuff and kind of pushing the boundaries on what the next wave of social is going to be.
Both of those people, I think of all of them that you mentioned are on the show. You were actually a speaker this weekend as well. What was your topic?
I spoke 3 times this week, actually. My specialty is how to optimize social for lead generation. And basically what I talk about is just like over the past 16 months here at Marketo, I was tasked with, growing the social, of course, and then getting more people to talk about us, getting more people to like us, not in a Facebook sense, but just generally improve influencer relations and just let people know what's going on. And then, at the end of the day, why we're doing this is to pull leads and is to touch new prospects and find new customers and upsell them, cross-sell them. Basically, I've come up with a way to lay a foundation across all your social channels because I say if you're not on every single social media channel, I don't care what your business is, I don't care what your niche is. If you're a B2B marketer, if you're a B2C marketer, you have to have a presence everywhere or you're simply missing opportunities. So I distilled down all the stuff that's worked for me, and I teach that and show how you can apply your own strategy and your own tactics and kind of make it your own, right? I mean, what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for you, but you can take cues from what I did and you can see the success and you can adapt that to your audience and what they react to.
So you're saying we should be on all social channels because there's conversation saying that not all channels are necessary. You're saying we should be on all of them?
Absolutely. These are channels that weren't there 2-3 years ago. So, and there's, some of the, like a Pinterest. I'm not a big Pinterest guy, right? But we have a presence there because some of our audience is there. Obviously Facebook is number one in my book. Then I would go to Twitter. Then I would go to LinkedIn, G+. SlideShare is also big for us. But, there are opportunities everywhere. I think you just need to look at your competition to see how creative they are getting, and you always need to stay 1 or 2 steps ahead of them.
I'm going to let you stay on the show even though you don't like Pinterest that much because I actually it hurts a little bit. It goes deep with me. I love Pinterest. But no, I do want to talk about that. I also want to talk about this Hangout generation. You were telling me National Geographic has an 80s show that they've launched, an 80s series starting, I think, tonight's Series 3. And they're actually also using Google Hangouts. I want to talk about that and much more. Stay tuned to the Tonya Hall Show. We'll be right back with Jason Miller. Stay tuned.
The beauty is there, but a beast is in the heart. Oh, here she comes. Watch out, boy, she'll chew you up.
Financial words of wisdom with Market Wrap host Mo Ansari.
Nobody knows when this market is going to turn up and down. When the markets are going up, you go along with it. When the markets are going down, you cut back on your risk. That's all you can do. If somebody says they know, then they're God. And if you think they're God, then start praying to them.
It's financial food for thought on your drive home. Market Wrap with Mo Ansari.
Down to business with Market Wrap weeknights 5 p.m. right here on 1060 The Biz. In today's connected world, connectivity and online presence can be key factors in driving the success of your business. Having a strategic partnership with a proven IT solutions provider like EarthNet allows you to focus on your business needs while knowing your online presence is in good, reliable hands. At EarthNet, Boulder's world-class data center and IT solutions provider, they leverage their expert staff and years of experience to provide a vast array of services and solutions. Whether you need compliant hosting, dedicated internet service, or specialized IT consulting, EarthNet can meet your unique requirements. Call EarthNet today, 303-546-6362, 303-546-6362, or visit their website at earthnet.net. Introducing Investing in You, hosted by Eric Gemelli, the market forecaster who predicted the market crash of September 11th in writing in his newspaper column. A book can teach you how to invest. In this show, you will learn when to invest. Investing in You will show you how to revolutionize your investing and include fascinating interviews, irreverent humor, and lifestyle segments, all to help you live and invest better. Listen every Friday at 10 a.m.
Hi, Tandy Davis for Stone Country, brought to you by the Mountain Eye Journals, Colorado's fastest-growing network of local news sites, providing insightful news from Colorado's most unique and vibrant areas. The Mountain Eye Journals. It's where I go. More at mountainaejournals.com. By any winter's definition, a snowy week, and now we keep doing that for April as we ski and ride another amazing weekend ahead with soft patch powder, and spring conditions. For Eldora, another inch of fresh snow and a half a foot in the last several days. Still almost 90% of the mountain. They're open until Sunday at Eldora. Winter Park with a couple inches of fresh snow themselves at 2,600 acres. 130 runs with some powder and soft spring snow at Winter Park. Loveland with 4 inches of fresh snow and almost a foot in the last 3 days. They have over 1,500 acres riding strong into the weekend. A Basin ready to ride on 99 trails and 4 inches of fresh snow at Arapahoe Basin. Breckenridge with about 8 inches of new snow and over 2,300 acres. Copper Mountain with a fresh half a foot and 1,500 acres. The Snow Country Ski Report can be heard every hour on AM 1060, The Biz.
And now a check of the temperature at the Denver International Airport. It's 30 degrees, minus 1 degree Celsius.
Tonya Hall Show, where we embrace the power of the web and everything happening, whether it's business, marketing, the latest and greatest apps, big announcements that are being made. And that I talked to the first part of the show about the Masters, right? I'm joined right now with our guest, Jason Miller, who is the social strategy and content marketing guy for Marketo, which helps you with your online marketing. Jason, I know you said you didn't watch the Masters. Is that right?
That's correct. I missed it.
You missed it. But Kevin, our producer, gave me kind of a hard time. I wouldn't even say he gave me a hard time, but it was complaining that he didn't have the Masters app this weekend because he, like you, was at a birthday party. But you know, Kevin, we actually talked about the app on Thursday. If you had been paying attention, Brian Rich was on the show talking about the app. So you have no excuse, brother. I mean, if you didn't have the app, it wasn't my fault. That's all I'm saying.
I understand. I should have had. Apparently, I was probably busy getting all this awesome music for your show that I missed the talk of the app, I believe is the issue.
You know, I think that was the day that you told me you were buying stuff on Amazon or something. I don't know. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that if you had been listening, you would see what you have to listen to every show. There's all kinds of great stuff. Jason, but you did actually get me excited about this idea of the National Geographic 80s, which I probably have everybody tuning out right about now. But the 80s, they're doing a series on the 80s, right? You said you watched some of that. Was it good?
I did indeed. Now, National Geographic they're brilliant when it comes to generating buzz around their programs. So they started this back at South by Southwest when they had a National Geographic 80s party, and they pulled out all the stops, right? So they had a DeLorean cruising around downtown Austin. They had slap bracelets. They had cassette tapes, and it was just totally silly. Anyway, so the show kicked off last night. It's almost like one of those Steven Spielberg miniseries. It's really well done, cool, fun documentary. And last night they talked about Reagan. They talked about Aerosmith and Run DMC coming together, which kind of broke down the walls between rock and rap. It was the first time that they said it was the first time that college kids could kind of hang out together and listen to rap and rock at the same time. And it was a really groundbreaking moment in music. And I'm a music guy, so that was really cool for me. But it's I think the second part or the third and fourth part kicks off tonight. But National Geographic, just really well done stuff.
Huge trend, though, right? With content on traditional television. I was talking about the first part of the show about this kind of evolution, right, of the content that we used to have to go to cable television for, or maybe go to broadcasters for. It's evolving. In fact, what was it? What's the show House of Cards that's actually on Netflix, exclusively on Netflix? Kevin Spacey's the main character. Robin Wright, who actually she's from Forrest Gump, is in that as well. She was kind of the main female character in that movie, if you remember it. No cable required. You can watch it on Netflix. And BTIG is the research company. They actually did some research and found that 4 billion hours of streaming is what Netflix is reporting for the first 3 months of this year. That's pretty huge. I mean, that is larger than any other cable television network, but except they're not a network. They're not on cable, and they're not on television. I mean, but it's bigger than anything. I mean, what does that mean though for us in this industry? I mean, what does that say about how we prefer to use content? I mean, is this going to change the way that we market as well as advertisers?
Well, I think you made a really good point when you talk about the Masters app. Kind of, more people might have been looking at that app at some point as opposed to watching it on television. And I think you have to give your audience. This is where we're headed. The audience is in control. The buyer, the customer is in control. So you have to give them different options on how to consume your own content. So, for instance, having that app available is for folks who are on the go who want to keep up with the Masters, but they also get the added engagement, which is super important, right? They feel connected. And with Netflix, you can bring it with you. You can control exactly when and how you consume their content, and that's where we're at right now. I mean, that's only going to get more personalized and more contextual moving forward.
You were giving me a little bit of a hard time about Pinterest. As soon as we went to break, that's the first thing out of your mouth was something about Pinterest. And I said, I do really like Pinterest. I feel like it's eye candy for shoppers. And I love to shop. I do a lot of online shopping. And I think it's great for lead gen. I know you guys are everywhere and you encourage customers and business clients to be everywhere. But from the standpoint of kind of what we're talking about, this online content versus, I'm now going to Pinterest rather than going to maybe 5 or 10 other places I would go before. I go to Pinterest first. So wouldn't that make sense, though, for advertisers to want to be there, especially in the online retail space?
Absolutely. Now, you have to differentiate that. In the B2B world that I live in, which is kind of the lines are kind of blurring here and there, what works between both. But these are really big ticket items. So I think if you look at, Banana Republic catalog, that translates beautifully over to Pinterest, right? Zappos. Beautiful transition over to Pinterest. But if you look at somebody like, like a big ticket item, like an Intel selling microprocessors, if you want to see a bunch of pictures of that, you have to be more creative. So I think it works for both, but you have to put a lot into it. And for what you put into it in the B2B world and get out, I don't think there's a lot of B2B prospects searching Pinterest for info on B2B high ticket items. But that's, now. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? But again, I think it's important to have a presence. GE, huge B2B company, they have an amazing Pinterest board, which is super cool. I know Salesforce does some cool stuff. But again, it's not that I don't like Pinterest. It's that in the world I live in, I get a lot more out of the other channels just at this point.
Well, being the music guy you are on kind of the side, you take a lot of pictures of music. You were talking about hearing some new bands this weekend. What's your favorite platform for the consumption of music or to get involved in the music business?
You know what? That's a really good question. And since I left the music biz and live in the world of social, I like to have a place. I like to have it all in one place, right? I think we're moving to a point where we need less and less tools. I want less and less logins. But I got to tell you, I think WordPress is really it. With WordPress, you can jump in there and write a blog and embed video, embed MP3s, and embed beautiful big images. You can tell your whole story. Like I went to see this show on Saturday night. Now, how do I convey that into the world of social? I can put photos and a couple lines on Facebook and tweet about it, or I can put it all together in a nice story vision with multimedia. Inside WordPress, and then have that as my mothership to tell the story through the other channels.
We're definitely seeing some of the media outlets do just that. They're trying to do that on their own platform, right? So they're putting in videos and links and to other articles and pictures, and it is definitely this kind of multimedia space. So let's talk about how that relates to advertising. You and I were talking before the show about Jeremiah Wang and this idea of paid plus owned plus earned equals converged media. So paid media, advertising in the past that you buy, owned media, which is the content you create, and then, of course, earned media, which is what people are basically creating about you, equals converged media. Why is that? Why was that the big topic you said at the events this last week?
Well, I think it's important because people are starting to realize that social isn't magic, right? If you want to have real results, you got to put a little bit of money behind it. And that's not to say like advertising, like on the those ads that show up on the side of Facebook, the little banner ads or whatever. Those don't work. What works is when you pay to promote your own good content that's not salesy, that especially in the world of Facebook, to entertain, to give somebody just something to share, to inspire them, to help them, to change the mantra. The social media marketer needs to get into the mantra of, they need to change their mantra of always be closing to always be helping. And that's where it's at right now. You're there to help people. You're there to inspire them. You're there to help them, give them some frictionless sharing experiences and give them a good experience so they want to talk about you more. So they want to talk about your content. You want to be found while they're looking, to purchase something. You want to be part of their journey, helping them along the way. Staying top of mind is terribly underrated in social. I think that's one of the biggest rewards that marketers get from that, is to constantly stay top of mind in the world of social, with the peer-to-peer, with the sharing, with your own good content. But again, to break out of that initial reach that you're kind of locked into, you got to put a little bit of paid money behind that. That's where the paid, and then it comes from that is the earned, and then it all pulls together as part of your overall marketing strategy.
So, okay, you've got paid, you've got owned, you've got earned, and you've got to try to figure out the balance, right? So you can't really control the earned with the exception of building the relationship, or can you? I mean, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the part we understand. The part we all get is paid, right? We know how to work on paid, but how do we get that to work together with the rest of that formula? And stay tuned, you guys. We're going to actually have another guest joining us the second half of the show, and she's actually going to talk about tax tips. She's Tax Girl for Forbes. You can find her on Twitter by going to @TaxGirl. She's going to give us some kind of last minute tax tips and that sort of thing. We're also going to continue our conversation with Jason Miller. Stay tuned to the Tonya Hall Show and follow us on Twitter at Tonya Hall Radio. We'll be right back.
Really tough Monday morning drive continues. This traffic report is brought to you by Garmin. Seeing really slow speeds, especially in southbound I-25 and north, really, through the Loveland area. It's our toughest drive. It's snowing really hard up north of Longmont, so it's really tough on that drive, especially northbound. You're coming up from Loveland up towards Fort Collins. Not too bad, though, if you're coming through the Longmont area southbound. You're heading into Thornton and Northglenn. We're seeing that usual slowing around 120 if you're trying to make your way into the city. Northbound I-25 really slow through that same area through North Westminster. Truck lost its load near Highway 7, so it's a tough drive as you're making your drive up towards Dacono. Good speeds, though, on 52 from Niwot over towards Dacono all the way into Fort Lupton. 66, a little slow on that drive into Longmont, as is Highway 287 between Berthoud and Longmont. Diagonal is a very slow drive southbound from Longmont. Real slow through Niwot and again through Gun Barrel. Hate traffic? Don't be a hater. Get a Garmin Nuvi with subscription-free HD digital traffic and avoid it with updates as often as every 30 seconds. Drive with Garmin, the most trusted name in GPS. For more information, go to sigalert.com. I'm Cub Buning. That's traffic.
Hate traffic? Don't hate. Drive happy. Get a Garmin Nuvi with subscription-free HD digital traffic and avoid traffic and construction delays with updates delivered as often as every 30 seconds. Drive with Garmin, the most trusted name in GPS.
Here is your updated weather report from the RCN Weather Center. This morning, Denver can expect some snow showers. Your best chance here will be late morning on. You may see 1 inch of accumulation today, the high warming up to 40. Into your evening, snow, good possibility. A blustery night, too, with a gusty breeze as high as 25 miles per hour. By morning, your low 28. We'll see 3 to 5 inches by morning, too. Into your Tuesday forecast, snow until noontime. It then ends. A gusty breeze for a time as well. Tuesday's high at 35. Wednesday, snow until noon. High Wednesday colder at 28. Front range weather is heard twice each hour here on AM 1060 The Biz, your trusted source for health and wealth information. I'm Dave Murs from the RCN Weather Center.
Brought to you by Bosch Appliances. Bosch Appliances are ranked highest in customer satisfaction with dishwashers by J.D. Power & Associates. Find great deals on ultra-quiet Bosch dishwashers at your local Bosch dealer.
Politicians are not kings. Let me say that again. Politicians are not kings. They're not superior to citizens, and their job is not to tell us the food we can eat, the soda we can buy, or how we should best defend ourselves. Who's to tell me how many bullets are enough to defend me during a rape? 1 bullet? 5 bullets? 10 bullets? How about as many as I need to stop the rape? These politicians, these bureaucrats, need to be reminded that we're all free to make our own decisions. We all have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And you know, if guns aren't right for you, don't own one. But don't you dare tell me how to best defend myself. I'm Laura Carno, an ordinary Colorado citizen who believes in the Constitution. Join me at IamCreatedEqual.com. That's IamCreatedEqual.com. This message paid for by IamCreatedEqual.com.
Come meet the man behind the mic. Straight Talk Money host Mike Robertson will be in Denver April 16th and 17th. On April 16th, join Mike for a luncheon seminar at McCormick & Schmick's, 8100 Union Avenue. The luncheon is free, but you must register. Go to straighttalkmoney.com or call 877-582-5320. That's 877-582-5320. Be sure to tune in to Straight Talk Money weekday mornings at 7 on 1060 The Biz. Securities offered by First Allied Securities.
KRCN Longmont, Denver, Fort Collins, AM 1060 The Biz, 50,000 watts.
The honorable men and women of our military are overseas sacrificing their lives for our country. Please take time to remember our brave troops. This message from Safe Construction Company, family owned and operated and serving the area with over 40 years experience. For the best in kitchen and bath remodels, water damage and restoration, and much more, look to Safe Construction Company. Call 970-879-8343. That's Safe Construction Company with an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau.
Looking at temperatures around the region in Boulder, Colorado. 28 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 2 degrees Celsius.
Welcome back to the Tonya Hall Show, where we're talking about paid, owned, and earned media with our guest today, Jason Miller, who is the social strategist and content marketer for Marketo. And we're talking about this idea that you really have to have all three of those things. So let's go back to Jason. You and I talked quite at length about this. And I kept saying, we need to say this on air, but quite at length about this so far during the show. So the Masters, right? CBS paid dearly for the rights for the Masters, just like they pay for the Grammys. They pay dearly for the rights. You had to watch the Masters on cable. Advertisers, they paid dearly for advertising during that space. And basically, there's a lot of money, right, in retransmission fees and that sort of thing. With the app that the Masters created, you didn't have to go through that. So I would say the app would fall under kind of owned media, right? So it's content they created. So you have the paid media that was happening on CBS. You have the owned media, but then you also have earned media. So how does earned media apply right here in this example with CBS and the Masters?
Well, I think there's a couple of good points here. The first is I think CBS. It'd be interesting to see if they get any any kind of traction from the Masters. If that was kind of in their contract, did they know that was there? Did they know they didn't get any traffic from that or any exposure there? But I think the bigger thing is how does CBS manage to keep? I mean, I didn't watch the Masters, but I watched the Masters this weekend because I couldn't get away from it. It was everywhere. It was every news update. It was online. It was on Twitter. It was on Facebook. So CBS's challenge is how do you keep a consistent look and feel across all of these different, across the Masters app, across all the channels and the advertising and the Facebook, images and Pinterest or whatever else. How do you keep that consistent and a pleasant experience that represents the brand across all those channels? That's the converged media. How do you make sure that all that is managed properly and that every opportunity that arises inside those silos in real time is being taken advantage of? Those opportunities, the sharing, the conversations, both the sentiment, good and bad. That's the earned media. You're earning that from having a presence out there and kind of seeding the social world and online and offline.
So the part that I think people understand clearly is the paid media, but there's ways that you can use your creative and your marketing to tie into your own owned media. And there's kind of an overlap there, right? So you pay for media. Well, what's the difference? Let's help people understand. What's the difference between paid media and owned media? Because you inevitably, through your advertising agency, you create both, right?
Well, your paid media is exactly what it sounds like. It's your PPC, your mobile PPC, your social PPC. The owned media is the channels that you own that you control. Your Facebook page, your Twitter accounts, your Google Plus, and the earned media is basically the optimization and customer reviews and the sharing, all of that comes from doing the first two very well, and tying that all together. But also managing it all together and looking for opportunities, looking for what's working, what's not working, being able to move your budget from one owned media platform that's performing really well away from one other one that you're not getting results. So traditionally that's been siloed out to different departments. And as we move forward, the converged media movement wants to pull all those together so everyone is in one platform working together, and they can see in real time what's working, what's not, and they can be agile. Agile marketing is kind of a hot topic right now as well, and it all stems from being connected and breaking down those silos in those marketing teams and have them all focused on one thing, and that's the experience, the customer experience.
So agile marketing, I guess, help us understand. I mean, what does a company need to do to be agile?
Well, that's a very good point. That's a very good question. And I think the idea is you need to move into the world of less tools, right? I can't tell you how many days a week I read some kind of new blog that says 150 new tools for Twitter or 300 new social tools you should be using. I don't agree with that. If I get one more login, if I have one more browser tab open, I'm going to lose my mind. I need to get everything into one place. So I'm in the camp of moving towards one platform for a marketer that could be a marketing automation platform or whatnot, and then having everything I need tied back to that integrated marketing. So you have add-ons to so your marketing team basically has a home base, and then they have add-ons, so they have everything they need built into that one platform. For sales, it's been Salesforce. For HR, it's been SuccessFactors, and for marketers, we finally have that platform. It's marketing automation platforms in many cases.
So we talk some about marketing automation here on the show and how to automate and get better. And that's a very controversial topic because I think there are people that think you don't want to automate anything. It has to be incredibly organic. But I think automation is important because your customers aren't always going to be online all the time. And you also want to connect all of your content together. So why should we automate our content?
Well, I think automation, the term gets a bad word because when we first all the companies started with social, we were automating tweets and blasting our messages out there, right? That's not what marketing automation is. Marketing automation, it automates the mundane tasks. It disseminates your content out there, and it triggers in real time personalized dynamic content reactions with your customers and prospects. So what this does is it takes your team of 5 marketers and lets them market like a team of 10,000. And it also, why do they need to follow up with a single email every time somebody does something? That's kind of a waste of time. If you can automate that process and automate like the scoring process based on these prospects and how they're engaging with your content, that's the important part to automate. And when you automate that, guess what? Your marketers have time. They free up time to engage personally and build up more creative marketing strategies and create more content, which fuels the whole process. So automation in this case is where technology is surpassed that. It's a contextual experience. It's personalizing that experience of that prospect or that customer and making their journey much more pleasant, much more personalized through automation. So in this case, automation is definitely a good thing.
What about the B2B space? You mentioned that you're B2B, so you focus on that. How should a B2B business approach creating content?
Well, there's many ways to do this. Now, the first thing you're going to want to look at is, of course, you always want to be helping, like I mentioned before. So look at your customers' pain points. If you can find their top 10 pain points, get on the phone with your customer service team. What keeps coming up? Write a solution for that. And make it in a very conversational way. Then turn that into a slideshare deck, into a video. That's a great place to start. That's obviously, in many cases, the most vital is to get those customer pain points taken care of. Then, just go with trends around your industry. You can get a listening tool, Radian 6 on the high end, maybe a Sprout Social or Hootsuite on the lower end. and just listen to the conversations that are happening out there. I know this sounds so generic, like listen to the conversations, but Google your keywords and see what pops up in the news, and then get some ideas around that. And then, of course, the go-to is also to tell your customer stories. If your customers have success, if you have a good product, hopefully you have happy customers. Reach out to them, get their story. Tell them content marketing is all about storytelling right now. It's about telling a good story well, and it's about showing people who are having success in a very positive way, in a very conversational way, and then in a fun way to disseminate that content throughout your social networks.
And finally, how do you get earned media? I think that's the one that people are most challenged with. How do you get people to be excited about your product?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, right? I think, first off, if you have a good product and you kind of seed the marketplace with little stories and anecdotes, and you just have a presence everywhere, that earned media comes along with it. It's again, if you have a good product and you have you're getting good customers and you're keeping those customers happy, then you're going to get that earned media. If you're having fun and you're taking some chances in social, do a little trial and error, see what works, kind of push the envelope a little bit without getting too crazy, and edgy. That earned media comes along with doing everything else right. It's just giving the customers and prospects and potential future customers a really fun experience, kind of showing how your company is human, how they relate to them, and how they engage with them, and how they actually pay attention to what they're doing and their needs. That's where the earned media will come along for the ride.
Okay, biggest takeaway from the events of this last week, both summits. You said you spent 12 hours each day trying to absorb it all. What's the biggest takeaway from those events?
Biggest takeaway, I'm telling you, I met so many awesome people, but the biggest takeaway is it's fun to be a marketer again. Whether you're B2B or B2C, I don't care. It's fun to be a marketer again because all this cool stuff is happening. The converged media, being able to track the results of your marketing campaign, you didn't used to be able to do that anymore. You can prove to your CMO now your marketing strategies are working with the right technology in place. The other things that really came about were 2011 was the year of social, 2012 was content, and then 2013, I think, is the year where that all comes together. You need social. Content fuels the social. It fuels the marketing automation. And it's all coming together to be part of a bigger overall marketing strategy that is really progressive and really working well for folks.
It is an exciting time for marketers, and I am always excited to talk with you, Jason, and see what you're doing. And I know there was a lot of content being shared, and I appreciate you coming on to share your insights on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I love being on your show. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll definitely connect hopefully later. Everybody stay tuned. We're going to be talking with the tax girl from Forbes, and she's going to give us some last-minute tax tips. Stay tuned.
Hi there, this is Barb Basher, and I'm heading up the YMCA's fundraising campaign this year. I have the absolute pleasure of working with more than 75 volunteers in this great community of ours, and our goal is to raise $90,000 to help our Longmont kids grow and thrive. I'd like to share with you the impact your gift will have. More kids will be ready for kindergarten, build on school success in camp, and learn teamwork and sportsmanship in youth sports. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, if you wanted to play sport, you played a sport regardless of how much money your family had. Unfortunately, that's just not how it works these days. Now, cost is often a barrier to kids playing, and to have a child sit on the sidelines because their family doesn't have the extra funds is such a shame, and it breaks my heart. I truly believe we are all connected by one purpose, to help all of our kids learn, grow, and thrive, and become productive citizens. Won't you please join me in this important cause and make your own gift? Help us help improve the lives of the kids in our community. Go online to longmontymca.org/donate, mail it directly to the Y at 950 Lashley, or give me a call personally at 303-775-2994. I'll be more than happy to drop by and pick it up. Whatever works best for you is what I want to do. Thanks a million.
Retirement's just around the corner, and it's going to be a blast. No more business meetings or dress shoes. No more running around trying to meet deadlines. Finally, the freedom to do whatever you want. That vacation you always promised. The new business you've been wanting to start. A chance to live out all your dreams. But do you really have enough saved to make them all come true? Are you sure? Imagine a tool that would let you plug in your vision of the future and your current strategy for getting there to find out if your approach is going to hold up. Better yet, if any problems pop up, what if you could know how many years into retirement your strategy might fail? Best of all, what if this tool could uncover adjustments to your approach that would help fix any issues before they even came up? Retirement's not about wondering, it's about living. And with a complimentary DreamWare retirement income analysis from Ron Caskey, you can get out there and enjoy every minute of it. Call Ron Caskey today at 303-710-3791 for your complimentary DreamWare retirement income analysis. That number again is 303-710-3791. Call today.
U.S. stocks drop as Chinese growth slows. From Bloomberg World Headquarters in New York, I'm Donna Wilson. U.S. stocks declined after China's economy grew, but at a slower pace than economists forecast. The Dow fell 72 points to 14,791. The S&P 500 index lost 0.6% to 1578. Well, manufacturing in the New York area registered at a slower pace of growth this month. Bloomberg's Vinny Del Giudice has the story from the First Word desk.
Weaker orders and sales accounted for the slowdown. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York's Regional Factory Index registered 3.1 this month, down from a March reading of 9.2. Readings exceeding zero signal expansion in New York, northern New Jersey, and southern Connecticut. Manufacturing accounts for about 12% of the national economy. Sustained strength in the auto industry has helped support manufacturing. At the Bloomberg First Word desk, I'm Vinny Del Giudice, Bloomberg Radio.
That's a Bloomberg Market Minute.
And now a check of the temperature at the Denver International Airport. It's 30 degrees, minus 1 degree Celsius.
Let me tell you how it will be. There's one for you.
Welcome back to the Tonya Hall Show, where we embrace the power of social media and everything that's happening. And today is the day. It's tax day, everybody. We've got our guest joining us, Kelly Phillips. She is a tax attorney and a contributor at Forbes magazine. She's at Tax Girl on Twitter and has great advice all year long about how to manage your taxes and what you should do. And Kelly, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And you were saying on break, so I was like, what's the most important thing right now? And you said extend, or which is it, extend or amend?
Extend, not amend. I think a lot of folks kind of scramble at the end to get their tax returns done because they keep thinking in the back of their head, I can always amend my return, which is true. Amending is relatively painless. But that said, getting an extension even less painful. So if you're worried that you're not going to be able to get your tax return in on time, it makes sense to file for extension today and then file a complete and accurate return later rather than just slapping something together and figuring out that you'll fix it later.
So people do wait till the last minute. I think nobody really wants to work on their taxes, and it can be incredibly stressful for people, obviously, and they look for other things to do, myself included, a distraction. So you actually don't have to work on your taxes. What percentage of people actually wait till the last minute?
Well, this year, actually, I'm hearing that the numbers are much higher than normal. In any given year, you're looking at around 10 million, and there's, 140-ish million taxpayers that file every year. So I'm too brain dead to do the math, but that's, somewhere around 1%. Last year, I think there was nearly 11 million, so it was up a little bit. But this year, it's really going to be much higher, I think. I was talking to one of the folks from TurboTax this morning. They had a little glitch last night, and I was talking to them about it, and they were saying that they are seeing a lot more filers for extensions than last year. And that's been my experience with my colleagues in the tax profession. They've all been kind of tweeting and Facebooking and talking about how many extensions are filing this year. Tax season is actually shorter this season than it was last year for a lot of reasons. We don't have the leap day because it was a leap year last year. Last year there was also a holiday, so people didn't have to file on the 15th. In fact, they got 2 extra days because there was a holiday and a weekend, and then plus the leap year. And then, of course, tax season started slower this year. They pushed it off because of the tax deal that was reached in Congress in January. So tax season didn't even open until January 30th this year, and then some filers couldn't even file until mid-February. So people have it's been pushed off, tax season, and so I think what's happened is it's a 75-day season as opposed to last year. It was almost 101 days. There's a huge difference. And so I think a lot of people are kind of, you have your normal group of procrastinators like me, but then you're also going to have a lot of folks who just realistically it's a shorter time span to get their stuff together.
You know, the IRS encourages people to let them be the tax filer for them, which I see as this huge mistake. Like, why would you let the tax collector be the person who's also, filing your taxes? How many people actually let the IRS do that?
Well, what the IRS does, they don't actually do your return. There are a couple of things that go on. One is they have a partnership with other tax return companies, so it's free file, where you can actually go online and work with established companies and preparers to prepare your return for free. When the IRS prepares your return for you, it's called a substitute return, and that usually happens when you don't file. There's a lot of chatter right now about letting the IRS do that kind of on an ongoing basis, because they do that in California. They kind of have a pre-done return for you. And I would think that's a huge mistake. I'm actually not as anti-IRS as some folks, because I clerked there way back in the day, and I think most of the people there are good people. But that said, it's not, first of all, realistically, they don't have the time and resources to dedicate it to making sure that you get every refund that you're entitled to and every credit. So if you get a substitute return from the service, chances are it's going to be the least beneficial return that you could get. So I absolutely would not let the IRS do my return for me.
Is there anybody who doesn't need to file a tax return? I mean, I'm maybe a low income family. I mean, do they actually have to file if you didn't make any money?
Well, yes and no. So this is actually one of the quirky little bits of the tax code. So you might not have to file, because if you're below the filings, thresholds, you don't need to file unless you meet certain other criteria. So there are financial, and actually it depends on your filing status and your income and the type of income. And I have a little chart on my website at taxgirl.com that you can go and you can see where the numbers fall. It's around 5,000-ish for most taxpayers. But that said, a lot of people who are in lower income tax brackets maybe want to file because they might be entitled to a refund because they're due certain kinds of credits. They might be able to get their withholding back. Maybe they had withholding and they shouldn't have had withholding. I tend to be a very conservative tax attorney, and I tend to tell my folks, file even if you think you don't need to, because it's rare that that filing will cause a problem. It's more likely the fact that you're either going to miss out on a tax break or that you're going to miss out on something else if you don't file. And a great example is IRS just announced a couple of weeks ago that the filing deadline for getting a refund for 2009 is actually today as well, because of the 3-year statute of limitations. And they have nearly $1 billion worth of unclaimed refunds at IRS for 2009. And those folks can't get those refunds unless they actually file.
How do people get those updates? Of course, they could follow you on Twitter, right? Because you're at Tax Girl. What's the best way for somebody to find out those types of things as they come about? Because we're not all, aware of those things when they happen.
Sure. Well, IRS actually has a pretty decent website. They've fixed some of the colors because it used to be kind of scary to look at, but they have a pretty good website at irs.gov, G-O-V, not irs.com, but irs.gov. And they have kind of a little box on the bottom where they do updates, for taxpayers. They also have a Twitter. They have a YouTube channel. Despite the fact that Senator Baucus seemed unaware that they had a production studio, they actually do have a YouTube channel, and you can get tax updates there. Also, the mobile app. There's a mobile app that you can get for free from IRS, and you can check on the status of your refund. It also will you can get information updates on that as well. The IRS actually does a pretty decent job on social media of getting the word out. So I would recommend, kind of following them and seeing what they have to say. They do make announcements. And the YouTube channel also, they have Spanish updates as well. So it's not just English. So there's lots of ways to get the information. Sometimes it can be overwhelming for taxpayers because maybe you don't want everything. In that case, following a blog or someone on Twitter that you know and trust is a good idea. But there is lots of great information on the IRS website.
The IRS has talked about actually using social media to track what people are buying, tracking online purchases. And there's a lot of conversation about their monitoring us. Is that something that we should be concerned about?
I'm going to probably tick a lot of people off, but yes and no. I mean, on the one hand, I have real concerns about privacy and IRS having access to that kind of information. But you know what? So does Amazon and lots of private companies. I mean, sadly, everybody's tracking your footprint on the web these days. And, you know, I understand more why IRS is doing it than I do like an Amazon or a private company. Private companies are doing it because they want to sell you stuff. And they want to find out what your buying habits are. You know, there was a great article that Kashmir Hill did on Forbes a while back about Target.com, or not Target.com, but Target, the company, and how they use information that they get from purchases to kind of target you for more purchases later. So all companies do this. IRS is doing it because of the tax gap, because there's so much underreporting going on, and most of it right now really can be attributed to the Internet, which is why, you know, they're changing the rules with respect to reporting like credit card purchases and that kind of thing anyway. So, yes, I have concerns because I have concerns about Internet privacy generally. I also do have concerns about what the IRS might do with it because they do play by a different set of rules than other folks. But other than that, you know, I think it's expected.
Gosh, it's kind of scary to me, but you're great. I love all this information. This is super helpful, and I know a lot of people are stressed out today. If somebody wants to connect with you personally, what's the best way they can do that?
Easiest, Twitter @TaxGirl.
I always say I love Twitter. Thanks for taking some time out on probably one of your busiest days of the year to share with us what's going on, and I'd love to have you come back, Kelly.
Thanks. I'd love to come back.
Absolutely. That's @TaxGirl, everybody. You need to talk to her. She's got some great advice, and you can find me on Twitter as well by going to @Tonya Hall Radio, or find me on Facebook by going to Tonya Hall on Facebook. Tomorrow, we're going to talk all about the big Chief Marketing Officer event that took place last week with our guest, Margaret Malloy. Everybody have a great day and get those taxes done. Talk to you then.